Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Just checking to see if, yes. Hi, everyone. I'm checking to make sure I'm live on Instagram. I am. And I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. And I am. So, it's been a while, guys. I've been away. I was on vacation for a couple weeks. And now I'm back. So glad to be here. I've missed you guys. So I'm gonna do a really quick live just to um, get back in touch with you guys, and then I'll answer a couple of questions, and then we can go forward. Anyway, for those who do not know me, my name is Attorney Odunlami, immigration attorney from the Odunlami law firm. My firm is here in New Jersey, but we represent clients in all 50 states of the United States. As long as you have an immigration matter, we typically do family-based immigration and deportation hearings. So um, you can always reach my office, 973-993-1900. So guys, I just want to discuss real quick. We've gotten a couple of questions on VAWA. And honestly, I just want to dispel this rumors out there about VAWA because it appears to me there are a lot of people who do not understand what a gift VAWA is, and they would qualify to file VAWA, but for all this information that they're getting. So I want to answer a couple of questions, and I'll take some questions from you guys. So let's talk about what VAWA stands for and what VAWA is. Hi guys, thank you for joining. VAWA is Violence Against Women's Act. That's what the acronym is. But as we have discussed this before, VAWA applies to women, it applies to men, it applies to parents who are being abused by their U.S. citizen sons or daughters, and it applies to children who are being abused by their U.S. citizen or green card holder parents, step parents, adoptive parents, biological parents, all of that. So the question I get the most is, do I need a police report to file VAWA? And I'm so surprised that I get people in my office saying that they went to certain attorneys and the attorney told them that they couldn't file VAWA because they didn't have a police report. And unequivocally, I want you to know that you do not need a police report to be able to file VAWA. The language of the law for a VAWA filing says that you can file VAWA if you've suffered physical abuse. It doesn't require the physical abuse to be reported because typically a lot of immigrants do not want to be before the police. That's really what, a lot of times what the issue is. And also you can file VAWA if you've suffered extreme cruelty. Now, extreme cruelty is not physical abuse. It's emotional abuse, psychological abuse, someone treating you badly, making you feel awful, that's emotional abuse. And that comes in different shades. Like I say, it could be financial, right? Where you're working and your spouse is taking the money from you when you finish working, taking your salary, refusing to give you control over your money, or forcing you out there to go work, right? So that you could support them, and they refuse to work. Or it could be somebody, you have a joint account and your spouse is just, not putting their money in, or maybe they're putting their money in and all they're doing is running, taking money from their account, running the account, putting the account in the red. It could be, psychological, where your spouse is making you feel bad about yourself, calling you names, embarrassing you in front of people, or, hurting your pet could even be abused, knowing that, that would be hurtful, abusing your pet, maybe even abusing your children, So there's no requirement at all in the law that you file a police report. Of course, if you have a police report, that's good evidence, but you don't need that. Most of our VAWA cases, the ones we have won so far, we haven't lost any VAWA case, knock on wood. but they've not. We don't have a lot of physical abuse. Most of our VAWA cases, and we have been very successful with them, have been emotional abuse, extreme cruelty. You know, and I'm going to think of some of like there was a case where um, our spouses, our client's spouse, got him to believe that uh, he was sterile, you know, that they couldn't have children, but she was actively on birth control, preventing them from having children. And he didn't know that. And he was going for all these tests. And, you know, and she was using it, holding it against him, calling him names, telling people that he was shooting blanks and all that. You know, there's a weird way that people do these things just to put you under their control, just to make you feel bad about yourself. You know, so that's not physical abuse, that's emotional abuse. And we won that case. The VAWA was approved. It could be a spouse threatening not to show up for an interview, your immigration interview, or threatening to go and to call ICE on you, or threatening to come to your job and disrupt your job, or you know, or we had a client whose spouse would come to his place of employment all the time, embarrass him, got him fired. That's abuse, right? And you have a spouse who's cheating on you and giving you STD. Now, USCIS says cheating on itself is not abusive, but it's the way it's done. So if you have a spouse who's sleeping around and, you know, putting you at risk of STDs, or you actually even get STDs, that's a problem, you know. Or you have a spouse who's refusing to use a condom, refusing to let you use birth control. So abuse can be emotional, it can be psychological, you know. It can be verbal, you know. It can be financial, it can be sexual, you know. So if anybody tells you that you have to have a police report, you need to know that that's not accurate. And it's just so sad that people um, are stopped from filing because they think they don't have enough evidence. And I tell you the truth, you don't know how good your evidence is unless it's been properly screened. Because I know I have people who come here and they say, well, I don't have proof that this happened. I don't have proof that that happened. And then we go through the declaration. I ask a lot of questions. And then guess what? I'm like, well, you told me about this. Well, do you have that text message? Oh, yes, I have it. Or you went to the school and he was yelling at you and there were people there. Well, can any of those people that were there give me an affidavit? Oh, yes, this person was there because she came and she helped me and she did. So you have more information you have more evidence than you realize. And sometimes there's just not any evidence that you can point your hand to. But the strongest evidence that you have is your story. And VAWA just requires credible evidence, which means that your story has to be credible. It should not conflict with any other thing that you're submitting. So if you are being abused by your spouse or by by your child who's over the age of 21 and who's a U.S. citizen, or your child who's been abused, you're over 18, you're being abused by parents, or you could qualify to file VAWA. And this is something that you should really take advantage of, because VAWA is it's a gift. You're never going to be asked about the abuse that you went through by an officer, because it's so they understand that there's trauma involved. So that's why it's important that your VAWA application be really strong and you put as much evidence, detailing time, dates, events when they happen, that kind of stuff. Okay. So now another question that I get is, can I get married when my VAWA is pending? The question is, can I get married when my VAWA is pending? And the answer to this is really simple. The answer is no. If you get remarried to somebody else and you have a pending VAWA claim, that VAWA application is deemed abandoned. So now nothing says you can't have children or you can't be in a relationship, but you just can't get married again. That's really it. And if you want to file a divorce, and you can file a divorce from your abuser, you just need to make sure that you file 2 years the VAWA petition within 2 years of the divorce. So let me look for another question that I get often. Now, going back to divorce, somebody said USCIS denied my case because I could not authenticate my divorce decree. Now, this is a big problem, and I want to talk about it. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes and talk about it, and I'll answer some questions. For you to be able to file VAWA, you have to prove that you're in a bona fide marriage with a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. And what that means is you have to show that you are able to, your marriage to that U.S. citizen or green card holder is valid, right? So if you were divorced, if you were married before and you got a divorce, and that divorce was not properly done, it means you're still married to the first person. So U.S. will not recognize your marriage to the U.S. citizen or the green card holder, for any purpose. So you will lose out on filing a VAWA claim if your divorce is not proper. And this is so important because a lot of people, they're here, but their ex-spouses are in their country. And so they have somebody from their country file a divorce for them, and then it's not properly done, or the divorce doesn't comply with the rules of their country. And then when USCIS wants the divorce decree, it's not properly, you cannot authenticate it. You cannot prove that it was properly done. So for those people, do you know that you can file a divorce while you're in the United States? And it doesn't matter if your spouse or ex-spouse to be lives in the United States, they can live abroad. So you can be here in the United States and divorce your spouse in Nigeria. And the great thing about that is that you have an American divorce which cannot be questioned, because a lot of Nigerian divorces are USCIS thinks they're very suspect. So if you're one of those people who wants to divorce their spouse, consider getting an attorney here in the United States to file that divorce. So let me take a couple of questions and then I have to go. Godly Benediction says, good morning, I'm from South Africa. I wanted to ask you, do you think the visa bulletin for F2A will be able to change? We have been waiting for the interview and now it's been a while. Well, the bulletin does change typically every month, but it doesn't mean that there's been any progression, So unfortunately, there's really not much you can do with regards to how fast it moves or how slow it moves, except to check the visa bulletin every month and see where your priority date is compared to that, okay? Good luck, God live. Hi, Origo Misan. Nice to talk to you. Guys, I'm a little under the weather because I went on vacation with my family. It was really fun and we all fell sick and we did a lot of walking around and I'm exhausted. So I'm a little under the weather, but I wanted to come in here real quick and chat with you guys. So MK says, dear attorney, I just received my green card based on my VAWA a month ago while I was separated for 5 years, but still legally married now. The question is, since I was never divorced with my abusive spouse, can I? That was the end of the question. So I don't know what okay. Can I go back to India and get remarried? And eventually will I be able to bring my remarried wife in the US in near future? So from what I'm gathering, MK, you got your green card based on your VAWA. Congratulations. And you were separated for 5 years, but still legally married. Now the question is, I was never divorced with my abusive. Well, you have to divorce your abusive spouse before you get married again. And you know that. So when you get married again, yes, you can file for your new spouse as long as there are no issues with regards to, bona fideness of the marriage. Remember that just because you have a green card does not mean that USCIS will not put you in secondary inspection when you're traveling. And if there's any indication that you got your green card, if they think, based on maybe text messages or whatever with maybe the person you're dating that shows that maybe it wasn't a proper relationship, they can still put you in removal proceedings. So you want to be careful about that. Otherwise, if you have a green card and you should be able to, there should be no issue with you filing for your spouse who's outside the country. But remember, the priority date may not be current too. So let's talk to Wasif. Wasif says, can I apply expedite on my pending New York VAWA I-360 based on humanitarian reasons. The VAWA takes a long time, and if you look at the there's no known way to expedite VAWA based on severe depression. So if you have your work permit, you have your travel permit, you just have to wait until VAWA does your case. Now if you've been waiting for a response for a very long time, then you might want to think about filing a writ of mandamus. But if you look at the processing times, VAWA is taking about 2.5 to 3 years. So I'm sorry about your depression. I hope you feel better, but VAWA does take a long time, right? Macon says, does PD request restart? I'm not sure I understand that question. Pedro Lopez says, do I need an attorney to help me fill out my parole application that you're from Nicaragua? I mean, it's always great when you use an attorney, but there are people who do not use an attorney. I always recommend that you use an attorney just to avoid mistakes. Let's see. Origo Misan says, is the FBI background not important? What happened when the USA has approved your parole and still they have not sent your approval letter, and the parole itself and in the status shows approved for over 2 months? Joe, I'm not really sure I understand this question. It depends on what type of case you filed. So I'm not sure if you need an FBI. Depends on the case. If it's a VAWA case, typically we send an FBI. Okay, yes, we do send an FBI report. Sometimes we just send a police clearance, but in my office we use an FBI report. And so you said they approved your VAWA and they have not sent your approval letter. Well, how do you know that they approved your VAWA? And I'm not really understanding this question, Origo Misan. But we do send an FBI report because you have to show proof of good moral character, and there are many ways to do that. One of those ways is getting an FBI report, getting a police clearance, getting affidavits from people who know you to be a good person. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Let me look through Instagram real quick, and then I have to run. But let's see. All right. I don't think I see any questions on Instagram. Okay, Tammy Ryo says, how about spouses planning to bring in another woman for the purpose of marriage and not filing your own papers? Don't understand what you mean by that question. It's kind of a question that doesn't really explain what you're asking for. So if you want me to answer these questions, you really have to be more you have to be clearer, because a couple of sentences and I don't know I'm not sure what you're asking about. Okay, so Origo Mason, you said that your parole was approved, but you still haven't gotten your approval letter, and it's over 2 months. Well, call USCIS, call the 800 number and find out what's going on, okay? That might yield some fruits. All right, guys, nice chatting with you. It's been a while, and I hope to join you again soon. It's been lovely talking to you. Take care. If you have any questions or you have any immigration needs, call my office, 973-993-1900. We look forward to assisting you. Take care.